following a diet, following something that really you want to do, but you have a hard time doing, how to get better habits, how to gain better self-confidence. And looking back at the approaches that I'm using now in nutrition, it's so easy for me to realize like, oh my gosh, that's exactly the approach I did when I was just entering the dating scene. So what I'd like to do today, I'm the kind of guy who hates vagueness. And we're going to focus today on how to get more self-confident. And I've asked that question. Kavita, this is genius, because I've been asked that question too. Like, what's the best opening line? Like, what do I say? And that's exactly the kind of questions that I used to ask as well. Like, I hate answers. Like, how do I get self-confident? And like the answers would be like, you just go out there and do it. And I hate that. I hate vagueness. Give me a step 1, step 2, step 3, and let's try new things. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today, because people from my business, they want to lose weight, and they hate hearing things like, well, just eat low carb.
That's a great point, because one of the things I also wanted to dive into is how your approach to like willpower, how that can also be applied to dating. And
Yeah.
even with things like, when you, like when you're dying to call someone and you shouldn't, or you're going to text an ex and you know that you shouldn't. I'm curious how your strategies for willpower and, the sugar monster and stuff that we've spoken about in the past, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's like some sort of analogy we could come up with, or some sort of creature we could come up with for dating. But I agree with you. What I really would hope that we can leave people that are here today with are something actionable that they could really apply right away to dating, and something that they could really think about how they can make it their own. So that is great. So I'm excited. So guys, the topic today is a strength-based approach to gaining self-confidence. Maybe to start with a very simple question for you is, you're the host of AskMen.com Thrive web series. What is that?
It's basically how to be an awesome kind of guy using average techniques.
Okay.
Like really simple techniques.
I love
basically
that.
what we're talking about today, right?
What was I going to say? What do you mean? Like, so you know what? Something for me, and ladies that are here, I don't know if you guys do this, but I love to buy anything that is for men. So there'll be like, 2 books, and it'll be like dating tips for women, dating tips for men. I want to buy the men's one, even like Men's Health magazine versus Women's Health. Like, I don't know why this is the case, but I think in most cases, what advice is being given to men also applies to women in so many areas. However, not necessarily the other way around. So I do like to grab everything that is for men, even though it's stuff that I'm looking to work on for myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about this Ask Men web series.
Well, now I'd like to see like everybody who has a question. I can see a raised hand thing. If anybody wants to ask a question at any point, please. It's all about Ask Man has changed a lot. I'm actually not active with them anymore, but the whole Thrive series really was little biohacks, tricks, and tips in order to improve your exercise capacity, great mindset, and all these things. Now, I haven't done that in a while, but when we look at a strength approach fitness or strength approach to anything, strength-based approach, we have to identify our strengths. And a lot of people don't know what they're good at. You really have to delve into it. So there's one of 2 choices. You either have to like stop and really ask you the important questions, like stop and think like, what am I good at? Well, I'm not really good at anything. Forget it. Everyone is good at something. Mm-hmm. Now, for the very first time, how do I put a chat? I'm going to put
I just I sent a message out to everyone. So I wanted to do like a bonus Q&A at the end. It was called Ask Pat. So if you guys can see, I did send a message to everybody in Zoom's chat feature. So you should definitely use that to to send us
Fine.
your messages, and then we can either answer them as we go or answer them at the end, which is probably what I would suggest.
Okay, I got my chat. My chat is disabled.
Oh, it shouldn't be.
It is.
Participant can chat with everyone publicly. Can you try
Ah,
again?
there we go. Yeah, now
You
it's
know what,
working.
guys? We use this for our speed dating events. So I have like so many controls on here to make sure the events run smoothly. But now you should be able to ask your questions in the chat.
There we go. So I
Okay.
just put up a link. If you really do have a hard time identifying your strengths, these questionnaires are from the University of Pennsylvania. There's a lot of questionnaires. Really, it's called authentic happiness. You know, how happy are you? How depressed are you? But there's one is like, what are your personal strengths? And there's a crap load of questions. I started answering them this morning, but there's 240 questions.
Oh, wow.
You just got to answer like some personal details, send them an email, you know, but it's free. So I highly, highly recommend that if you're the kind of person who really wants to analyze what your strengths are, and they're not like, hey, you're good at cooking, you're good at, no, these are like, you're good at analytical skills, you're good at creativity. And this is basically what I want to focus on, is that if you are a creative person, use your creativity to get your desired ideals. Now, this still is a little bit vague for me, so let me give you an example of what I'm really good at, or what I've been doing for a long time is nutrition. Hands up if the scenario that I described sounds anything like you. 90% of the time, you eat healthy. You eat lean meats, vegetables, whatever. You eat whole foods. But on evenings, maybe once or twice a week, you have a cheat meal. And at the end of the month, you've gotten nowhere. And like 95% of your meals have been perfect, and yet you're not losing weight. And it's frustrating. You either have a little cheat meal, which you think like, oh, I don't understand. It was just 3 cookies. It was a glass of wine, and yet no one gets anywhere. Does that sound familiar? Oh,
Mhm.
Gengi. Gengi says I don't have the sound.
Oh,
It
yeah.
sounds okay for me from Jen.
You might just need to. I think the sound is working. Yeah. Can you just make sure that your volume on your computer is up? That might be
Speakers are on.
the easiest thing to check. Thanks, guys. Look at this community.
Wow. All right. So let me go with the approach. The approach that almost everyone uses is that they feel shame and guilt, right? They feel like I should not be eating this. I got to stop. And then when they fail after a week or two of being so good, that whole dopamine response, and then they cave in. And instead of having 3 cookies, they might devour an entire box or an entire pint of ice cream. And yeah, just 1 pint in 2 weeks, it may have a huge effect. So here's what we focus on. We focus on the rest of the day. So instead of focusing on that little part of the evening where you're weak and you have little self control, let's focus on what you're doing good and do more of it. And so if you are eating a lot of salads and meats and everything, eat a lot more of it. By the time the evening when you're weak, weak willpower, you'll see that you have very low appetite. Now, protein and fat are the most satiating nutrients. So, this is why I really espouse like a keto diet or a high fat, low carb diet, because when you eat a lot of fat, you just feel like I have no appetite. I have no cravings. I just boom. And then that's a good way to do it.
So how do we apply this to dating though?
Perfect. Okay. So you have to find your strength. Now, my strengths are rationality and a scientific approach. So here's how I was. I was a huge introvert. I was really into Dungeons and Dragons, reading books and stuff. I was petrified of walking up to anyone that was pretty or that I had a crush on. What was the first thing that I said? I had approach anxiety. Instead of I would if I go to a club or a bar, I would spend the entire night just like going in my head, like, okay, analyze the situation. I'm going to wait until this moment until she's clear. Oh no, okay, over analyzing things. So
Overanalyzing is so
yeah,
huge in dating. It really
yes, for
really
me.
keeps you from just like taking very basic steps forward, just having a conversation with another human, and that's it. You just like get caught up in this web of things that are not really like facts,
Yeah,
things that are not really true, and it can be very difficult.
it can be, and it's very paralyzing. And at the end of the night, it's a huge blow to your ego. And the worst part is that my ego was um, what defined me. So here it was. I thought, wow, I'm a nice guy. I respect women. I'm highly educated. I have musical talent. I have artistic talent. Like I'm a good package. If only they could give me a chance to show them. But you won't have a chance to show them because it just begins with just going up to them. And if you're not self-confident, it's never going to work. So I did a 180-degree turn, a complete personality change. Now I know my sister is actually listening in on this, and she could attest that I'm a completely different person. The way I speak, the way I move everything changed, and it all started with one thing, telling me that this is not what I want. Things have to change. How to be different. And so here's what I was good. I was good at experimentation because I was a scientist. So what I did was, instead of overthinking what I have to say because I was so afraid of how I was going to be perceived, right? Like, oh, you're just like a normal guy approaching me because all you want to have is sex. And I'm thinking like, no, no, just give me a moment. I'm a nice guy, trust me. But in the back of my head, I was like, yes, but I would like the sex. That would be awesome too.
Honesty.
So here's really the turning point. As soon as I decided to turn this into a research project, rather than being so personally involved in the situation, it completely changed everything from day to night. Here's why. It was me at a club now was not about me um, having success. It was about me taking field notes and experimenting. And that objectivity, which is so good and so amazing, like I'm good at being so objective in science, I use that objectivity to be in the club scene or the bar scene. So by being more objective, you automatically distance yourself from any kind of hurt that may arise from rejection. And I'll be honest, I mean, I burned a couple of times and I went back to the drawing board. I swear to God, I had a freaking notebook and I put it down. This opening line doesn't work. Um, but I mean, I'll give you the step-by-step process, because even before I started doing this online, what I did was the simple stuff. So let me ask a question here to anybody that's on chat. Does that sound familiar? Does anybody here actually have like approach anxiety and fear of rejection? Just say like me. Just be honest.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have people answering. I also know that, I know some of these clients. I don't know everybody here. I'm not obviously not calling anyone out, but
Yeah.
the reason this was important is because, it may not feel comfortable admitting it. A lot of people's, full names are here.
Sure.
But this conversation is, I think this conversation is helpful for even people who don't think they have it. I think we all, maybe not all, but most of us have a piece of it, even if we're, or we're working on it. We've gotten better, if nothing else. But otherwise, yeah, I think a lot of people are still facing that today.
Okay.
And yeah, and we are getting people. It's always, and this is,
I
uh,
left today.
I would say it's a safe space,
Again.
no judgment here. And it's really, it's just nice to hear that people are being honest and,
Okay.
we have
So
questions. It's good if you guys raise your hand. That's great, because what we can do after is we can have you jump on with us and ask your question out loud as well. So keep your hands raised, and I'll get to you guys after.
perfect. Okay, so how do we use a strength-based approach in order to get more self-confidence? Self-confidence is a habit. That's all it is. And when you start a habit, you can't just go right into it and hit the big guns. You got to do something that you're good at. And anybody who's afraid of rejection and approach anxiety, don't start with approaching that good-looking guy or girl. Start with people that you're kind of forced to talk to. Your cashier, receptionist, baristas, bartender, all these people. Go beyond. So step number one, this is my step number one, homework.
Write it down, guys. Write it down.
Step number one, go beyond the required thing. Like if you're gonna go out to Starbucks and get a coffee, just don't go say, hey, I'll have a double latte. It'll be fun. Thank you very much. No, no, no. Say a couple of extra things and start getting the conversation going with almost everybody that you're forced to talk to. That's step number one. And don't be creepy about it. Don't say like, "Hey, you're pretty." No, 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 no. Just like, it doesn't matter if it's an old person, a young person, a guy or a girl, complete stranger. It doesn't matter. Talk about the weather. Talk about very neutral topics. Do not talk about politics or religion.
Um, you know,
Keep it light.
at the grocery store, guys, like I am not looking to meet someone right now, but um, this is a skill I've been trying to work on myself for a long time, just to not have my head in my phone, just to feel comfortable talking to people. So I will at the grocery store, very simple, just to get those, just to get like, what is it, your muscles warmed up,
Yeah.
is like, how's your work day? Like, wow, it's so dead in here today, which is something you can say right now. Or even, now is like such a great time to start conversations, be like, wow, like, what's it like working at the grocery store right now? Like, how have things changed for you? The nice thing about this is, if you don't mind me saying, Pat, is you can also go in with the intention to make somebody else happy. Think
Yeah.
about how few people are interacting today anyway. So to take the pressure off yourself, think about how this cashier guy or girl who's just been like scanning all day, who's usually dealing with people staring into their phone, not giving them the time of day, make their day for a change.
Yeah, and I remember this perfect example that led me to step number two, is that one cashier said like, "Hey, I like your coat. You got a really cool style." And that made my day, right? Because I don't consider myself a stylish dude. And like, obviously it affected me because I still remember it to this day. And she made my day. And that set off like, boom. Step number two, be friendly and say nice things to people, whether or not you're attracted to them or find them attractive. Agreed?
I completely agree. It goes back to like just making someone else's day.
Yeah,
Um, and it's not about dating, it's not about attraction, it's just like getting things moving and like being human with each other.
exactly. And like that particular cashier, sure, she may have thought I was attractive, or she wanted to strike up a conversation, but she didn't pursue it any more than that. She just said, "I like your style." And I like, "Oh, thanks." Now, if I had found her attractive, that would have been such an easy in. And at this point, like, listen, I was the kind of guy who was attracting only one kind of girl, and that's the girl that made the first move. I was the kind of guy who was attracted to anybody who showed me any kind of degree of interest. Um, and that was what set me on this journey, because I wanted to have the choice to choose who I wanted. And the series of girlfriends that I had at that point were basically the ones that had approached me. They had more self-confidence than me. And what that happens is that it enables me to just not change, because they're taking the first steps. They're doing the first kiss. They do the first moves. They basically take control of everything. And I did. I just didn't like that about me. I felt emasculated. I felt like, hey, if I do have a decision, that leads to like a toxic relationship at one point, and that's not how I wanted my life to be. So everybody who's here right now, hopefully, has that growth mindset. Are here by saying like, I don't like this about myself. I don't like the relationship that I'm in right now. I want something for myself, and therefore you have to. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Don't be wishy-washy. Identify what exactly you needed to change. And for me, it was exactly this. I want to be able to have the power to choose who I want. I think I want that pretty girl. And I want to know the tools to be able to approach her in a friendly, non-creepy manner and establish a rapport. And then like, eventually that'll lead to a date.
So this is so perfect what you're saying, because for you guys, like my goal for you guys is to be able to choose who you want to be with. And such a strong message that I'm trying to share right now, since I've been jumping on these lives, is to really be grateful. And I know not all of you are single. I know, there are a lot of like new relationships, but um, or you've been in something for a little while. But what I always say is like, as a single person, you need to get on board with how lucky you are, because you get to choose who you want to be with. And I've said this before, Pat, to my clients, we're like, not everyone in a relationship is happy. Like the grass is really not always greener. And you should really be so thankful that right now you have it's in your complete control to pick a partner that's really well suited for you. And one of the things that I find a lot for people who are lacking that confidence, or not even or who've just forgotten how much control they actually have over this is men and women who just really settle for anyone who's willing to give them attention. If someone is willing to date them, they'll just go with it. And they don't even realize that they're not even happy about it. Like, but they're just doing it because it's been so long that you felt like you can go after someone that you want and get someone that you want and be with someone that you're happy with. So I love this again as like a reminder, as what you're saying is so important. It's like the key message here is it's in your control.
Yeah. Yeah. I want you at the end of this Zoom session, at the end of your life, I want you to look back and saying, you know what? I really love the relationships that I was in. That's my goal for everyone on the planet.
Yes, please.
All right. So I'll recap. Step number 1, expand the conversations with people that you're forced to talk to. Step number 2, with these same people, start giving them nice compliments, safe compliments. Next, step number 3 is to actually talk to actual strangers. Go up to people uninvited. Now, this key is the most important because it's a big transition. Because right now you're going to interact with people who have no interest to talk to you, and this is important because this kind of blunts your fear of rejection. If you want to, stop out on a street corner, you're both waiting for a red light, and you say something simple as like, wow, this light is really long, and they don't acknowledge you, they just look at you like, wow, this person's strange for talking to me, let it go. Fantastic. You just got rejected. Congratulations. You got a teeny weeny little bit of a battle scar on you. And trust me, this is a good analogy. If you're going to go into battle with someone and the person beside you does not have any scars, be afraid. But if the person beside you has got tons of scars, that means that they've seen a lot of action. That's a whole bunch of mistakes, right? And they're going in. Now I trust that guy, and I want to be that guy at the end of this whole thing. So first, get your first little cut and get used to being rejected just a little bit by talking to people that you have no emotional connection with. Like, oh my God, this girl's so pretty, I got to talk to her. Like, no, you're not ready yet. Talk to anybody, old, new, woman, man, doesn't matter. Like this, just talk to strangers. And I would actually give you a time limit for that. Just give yourself a homework. Today, I'm going to head out, talk to 3 strangers, and that's it.
Well, not today, but soon.
Why not? Go online. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
I was making a social distancing joke.
Right. Okay. Well, next time you head out, kind of thing. We all have a common thing to talk about, so it's going to be easier than usual. But you are going to get these people who think that you're weird just for talking, and that's fine. That's what you're looking for. You're looking to get a couple of battle scars in there, because once you're used to it, you're going to be way more prepared for the actual approach to that special person that you have your eye on. You agree, Kavita?
Yeah, I completely agree. So I was like, I feel like I keep interrupting you. So what I love about this also is I really love the step-by-step approach. I love the build-up. And I think it's also important, key is it's not about you. We tend to just take things so personally, and that, I don't know if you guys know the book, The 4 Agreements, like one of the life's 4 agreements is don't take it personally. And this is something I personally apply to everything that I do as much as I can. Even when I know it's probably a little personal, I'll still be like, you know what? This isn't about me. I did my best. This is your stuff. And so I completely agree. It's such a great approach. Even I like the idea of also going into it to be rejected.
Yeah.
Right? So that's your goal.
If you do that as your goal, that is a strength-based approach right there.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, you turn your mindset now. Instead of saying like, I got to talk to 3, I got to make new friends, I got to do, no. You're out there in order to be rejected and not take it personally, which is tough. But what you need is practice. And now you're in the field, literally getting practice. Now, at this point, you can actually start using this approach in a meeting place. It could be a coffee shop. It could be a club, once the quarantine is over. Or online. I have no idea how to transfer this to online. I have very little experience with this. But here's what we do. number one, guys and girls actually enter a place very, very differently. And I always, as a scientist, I look at this from an evolutionary point of view. When a guy walks into a place, he looks at where are the pretty girls and where's the bar. When a girl walks into a place, her mind is a lot more, she pays a lot more attention to detail. She'll know who are the friendly faces, who are the potentially dangerous faces or threatening faces. They can even spot spiders in the corners of the walls, given enough chance. And research kind of supports this. Women are very detail oriented. So, guys, this is something that I learned the hard way. But women do have seen you, and they have seen you looking around and scoping. And worse, they have seen you approach 10 girls and not. And then if you approach them thinking like, well, number 11 is going to be my lucky one, they've already seen you. You haven't seen them looking at you, but trust me, they've seen you.
So one thing I'm going to say is this audience anyways, for the most part, are people who are a little bit older, as in like my like 30s, 40s, even possibly 50s. So they're the types of people that are professionals and really like
Okay.
they're not walking into clubs, they're not walking
Okay.
into bars. So they're looking, so that's why I prefer your like the initial approaches, which is like everyday step, the kind of step
Okay.
that we're always the kind of surroundings that we're always in.
Sure.
Can you, so tips that I would normally give, how do you meet people? So obviously I talk about speed dating. I talk about, taking up activities. What about this approach in a normal setting for someone when they're, so a day to day, let's say you don't want to, if you don't have the answer for this, that's also fine. But let's say you don't want to meet someone at your work, or, your work is just off limits for whatever reason. You only work with men or you only work with women anyways. So you go to work, let's say you find you have like a gym class or you go to the gym after work. And just to throw something else out there, like, yeah, you are part of some sort of, I don't know, you like to do salsa dancing, you go to a cooking class once a week. Like, how can we use this approach kind of a bit more day to day and not so much in like a bar scene?
It's actually a lot easier because if you are doing a cooking class or salsa class, you have a shared interest, and that's an obvious topic in order to build something on. Well, my first thing is if you are taking a class or at a coffee shop or just day to day, and you do have your eye on someone, here's the thing. There's a big step, right? So let's go like to step number 4. Just say hi. Just say hi. Um, and again, it's a comment like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, "Hey," something very, very simple, and that's it. Stop. Just plant the seed. Because if they're going to say like, "Hey, you're at a salsa class," like, "Hey, today's class was fun," and they'll be like, "Yep," and that's it. Boom, leave it there. Don't push it anymore. That's what my goal is. Because you know that you're going to come across this person again, and that's fantastic. And they'll remember you, but that's the guy who just said hi, and they don't know you, right? Don't take it personally. They don't know you, so they don't know like, oh, this guy's going to talk to me, and he's going to like keep me around, and he's going to ask me for my phone number. But no, all you did was like, hey, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you next time. Done. So plant the seed. And while you agree, right? That's
You're speaking my language. Planting seeds. So we should be doing like day to day is set the groundwork, like have
yeah,
patience. Get even like give yourself time to get on board. Like you don't. It's not about like another. This is to what I was saying before too. It's not about you don't even know if you like this person yet
yeah.
either. Right, so it's not like you and we see this all the time, like, oh, now you're getting the attention you want, you're like, I don't really even like this person. So give yourself like a bit of time to like get to know someone. um I would love to dive a little bit deeper into what you were saying before, which was like a bit more like motivational, but about making like this choice and having a growth mindset. And you were talking about, unless there's like a step 5 you want to cover first, but I do want to come back to the part about choose, like really being able to choose who you want to be with. And I want to get people like psyched about that and get them like excited and believing that it's possible.
So if you want to choose someone else, first and foremost, you have to have that, you have the growth mindset. So you have to look at you yourself. Yeah, absolutely. You are the catalyst. So if you're looking to find someone that you can really vibe with, um, but you have issues with, could be anger or impatience or something like that that you need working, I would highly recommend that you take steps in order to improve those aspects of yourself. Not necessarily because you can meet someone and grow with them, which is almost always the case. But frankly, I do deal with, for example, dopamine, which can be addictive, which is that reward um, neurotransmitter. And this is actually at the base of toxic relationships. So I like obviously I'm not a dating expert, but I was fascinated with how dopamine is involved in toxic relationships, and so I looked more into this. And this makes absolute sense, and it's almost exactly the same reason why we love to have little treats at the end of the day or at the end of the week as a reward. So say like you're in a toxic relationship, you're fighting all the time. What you're addicted to is the moments of happiness that you have. So you're able to weather the bad times 90 to 95% of the time just for that 5% where he's so sweet, and like she's nice to me, and that can be addictive. And if that relationship ends and you haven't done any self-growing, you're absolutely going to attract that same kind of relationship again. So number one, if you're looking for the type of person that you absolutely want to be with, you make sure that you're that type of person that the person that you want to be with wants to be with.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say it? I said
Yeah,
that right?
I was actually talking about this on last week's live. I'd be curious what you had to say about, to your point right now, patterns. So identifying patterns in dating. So it could be very similar to how we might need to identify patterns in other areas of our life. But how can people, I really identify what type of relationships haven't been working for them or what type of patterns haven't been working for them so they don't end up dating the same, or they don't end up in that, not sometimes you're not even dating the same type of person. It doesn't seem that way, but you keep winding up back in the same
Yeah.
situation again and again, in the friend zone, heartbroken, trying too hard.
Oh, I was stuck in the friend zone for years and years and years.
Okay.
And actually, the answer to your question is exactly how I chose my wife, Cindy.
And yes,
Um,
I did want to talk about that. I'm just going to say one quick thing. So, guys, I know that we started, I put this as a 35-minute live, which I knew would run a little bit longer. But just so you guys know, we're still chatting. We will do a Q&A. Obviously, Pat, it's already been almost an hour from when I was trying to get things to work. So if anybody has to leave, that's totally fine. I am recording this, so I will post it and I can send it to you guys for watching later, just in case, so you're not going to miss out. But yeah, just wanted to mention that, and yeah, let's continue.
I love this. Someone just says, Stephen C., I find to date women with trust issues. Last BF cheated. Last BF is in prison. Last before stole my money from me. Exactly. Okay, that's a bad streak. But trust issues was exactly what my wife and I had to overcome at the very beginning. So we actually broke up when I started first dating Cindy, my wife. We actually broke up after 2 months, and here was a mind-blowing thing that happened. She told me exactly why she broke up with me, and I felt like, well, okay, well, here's exactly why I broke up with you. I had commitment issues, and she had trust issues. Now, when we split apart, I called her, I think, a few days later, and I said, like, you know what? I really thought about the stuff that you told me, and I think you're right. And it's admitting it. Remember, we weren't out to hurt each other and to say, like, you're this, you're this, you're this. Like, we had a real mature conversation saying, like, this is why I don't think this relationship is going to work. And we stopped it after 3 months of dating. So it was a good analysis. So you're asking me, like, how do you
Identify patterns. But what I want to say,
identify patterns? Yeah, absolutely. If you can't see it in yourself, oh, you froze. Okay. If you cannot see those patterns in yourself, you absolutely need to talk to other people who may identify patterns in you. And don't be insulted. Don't take it personally, but take it as a growing a life lesson. Use
yeah,
it to grow.
I'm always wary. Sometimes, like, I'll work with clients who, we have a matchmaking service, and I'll work with clients who are half the clients are so eager for the feedback on the dates that don't work out. They're like, please, like, when a date doesn't work out, I need to know why. And that's why they like working with a matchmaker, because you're getting information that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. But they're really curious because they're just not getting that information on their own. On the flip side, I'll have clients that are like, if someone's not interested in a second date, I don't want to know why. And I'm very wary about working with clients like that, because I'm like, you're going to keep, I feel bad. I'm like, you're just going to keep going on these dates, and having if you don't want to change, if you don't want to grow, if you're not curious about why it's not working for you, how are you going to get better? And even if you're great, and it's not about like how to get better, but you're just like, you're not meeting the kind of people that you want to meet, you need to be curious about why. Like, I would say that's almost one of the first steps, is knowing that you want to get better, that you want to kind of change the results that you're getting. And one of the ways that I think you could do that is to be curious about it. I'd be curious for Steve, like, why do you think I think a little, and maybe Pat, you could help here, but you've had this bad streak. You are dating women with trust issues. All of their boyfriends have been in really like, all of their boyfriends have treated them kind of shitty, it seems. How come you keep ending up with these women? Pat, would you like, is there any way, I mean, again,
Yeah. So say you really like this girl and you're thinking like, all right, this is like, I really like her and she really likes you. Rule number one, don't try to change her. Don't try to convince her that she can trust you. It's going to come slowly, because it sounds like this girl's had really a long streak of bad experiences. So let your actions speak louder than your words. Give her a reason that she can trust you. But Stephen, this is going to take time, because trust is a building thing. So if she comes into the relationship with you already mistrusting you, you're off at exactly you said, you're off at the negative. But don't do anything. Don't try to change her. Just make yourself the most awesome, trustworthy, loyal guy who makes her feel safe, secure, and loved. Those are the three main things that a woman needs in order to build trust.
but what if Steven what if I'm not sure if I understand the context exactly, but what if he just keeps ending up with women like these and they're not well suited for him? Like, he doesn't want to find another woman who's had this like absolutely terrible relationship before. Like, he wants to date someone who doesn't have baggage, for example, or less.
Well, he's got to identify that pattern.
Mhm.
Why? That dopamine. He's always attracted to toxic relationships, maybe, Stephen? Huh?
I think that, yeah, I think
A little bit like you're liking the fixer-upper.
I see that a lot.
Yeah.
I'll notice that a lot. I'll see the guy that wants to rescue the girl. They always end up with women that um, have been through a lot of stuff. I'll see I'll see the exact same thing on the women's side. My best friend deals with that a lot. I'm like, you're back to, she's like, but that's what I do. I'm a mom. I'm a fixer upper. And I'm like, you're unhappy. You don't like your relationships, though. So I think it is breaking free. Yeah, white knight syndrome. Exactly, Greg. So I think it is breaking free. Again, it comes back to the same stuff. It's breaking free of these limited beliefs that we have about ourselves. And once you can break through and realize you don't have to be confined by this definition of yourself or by what others have told you, only then, it's kind of like stripping away those layers. And then only then being like, okay, now where do I actually want to go with this? What kind of person do I want to be with? What kind of person do I want to be in a relationship? So this is really how you guys should be thinking. And I do see this a lot, but I'm this type. But that's not working for you. I go out, this is the kind of guy I'm attracted to, but that's not working for you. How do we experiment and change and try something new?
Yeah.
So one thing that you talked about, Pat, is let me just find it. So you were saying that you didn't realize that you were using a psychotherapy technique called strength-based therapy. Like, you didn't know. So if we can just dive a little bit, go a little bit deeper into identifying your weaknesses and how
Mhm.
like to emphasize that and really put that forward
Okay.
in your dating life? Like, how can that so you talked about identifying it. I talked to you guys last week. I don't know if everyone was there, but last week I talked about really writing down this. Mine was probably a little bit more surface level. And Pat, what you're talking about is going a little bit deeper, which is great. But really creating this list of all the great things that you bring to the table in a relationship and really focusing on that. So remember, like, I think that can just help with building confidence because we forget all of the wonderful qualities that we do have to offer someone in a relationship. So yeah, so can we talk, maybe we can like, maybe that could be kind of, unless there's a few other steps, but yeah, how can people, once they've identified their strengths, how can they emphasize that and put that forward and remember that that's what they should be focusing on when they start to feel discouraged and focus on their weaknesses, which we all have also.
Right. So from my personal journey, the rational, objective, scientific approach was something that I was good at and that I use that. So it's not something like, hey, I'm really good at playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to use my skills as a dungeon master in order to pick up girl. That's not the point. No. You got to go back and realize like what are the personality traits that you have in order that you can emphasize in order to make it go. So if you're a musician, you're not thinking like, well, I can serenade a girl. No, that's the point. If you're a musician or an artist, your strong point is your creativity. It's your imagination. So take those strengths and focus on those in order to obtain your desired objectives. How to go about that? There's endless ways, and you need to explore that. Remember, you're a creative person. Some of us love, yeah, for
That,
sure.
well, yeah, that was, it was just very like clever and cute the way you said it. We're like, well, that's up to you because you're the creative one here. Um,
I don't know, but I mean, off the top of my head, you were really thinking like creative ways in order to approach someone that you're afraid to approach, creative ways to gain self-confidence. And so a lot, what I'm saying is a strength-based approach is that mentally you focus on that rather than the lack of success that you've been having, the flip side of the coin. Because if you were saying like, I'm always dating these horrible girls or guys, I'm never liking whoever like that. If you focus on that, you never, well, rarely going to achieve the self-confidence. So, and of course, as you said, that's self-identifying sabotage. If you're just saying like, well, I'm just no good with men, or all men are like this, or all women. Now that's language that comes from resentment. And resentment is something that needs to be eradicated from your life.
yeah,
These unresolved issues absolutely need to be resolved. So tackle that. Tackle that first. Tackle your unresolved issues first, and that's the way to go about it.
yeah.
Use your creativity, or use your rationality, or use your skills as a dungeon master. But that's what the whole idea of strength based is. And again, it's very hard to understand to actually know if you're not the kind of person who actually takes time out of your day to say, what do I really want? Because remember, this is not a mindset that I had before. So I didn't know what I really wanted. I basically wanted whoever wanted me. I just basically wanted whatever opportunity presented itself. That's not the way to live life.
Yeah, and that's a big one. That's, I see
Yeah,
that a lot.
yeah.
Um,
In school, if I can just say, if anybody here is doing their graduate studies, when you get a PhD and when you go beyond, you're led to believe that as soon as you graduate, all these companies are going to knock at your door saying like, we really want you. And that's what I was really hoping for. Man, what a disappointment. You hand in your massive thesis. I have it right behind me. It's this thick. And I thought like I'm going to be the most desirable person. No, they just gave you a thank you pen. And it's such like, that was like years and years of your life pursuing something, and that you've reached it. And a lot of people they become depressed. That is exactly what happens in a relationship that doesn't work, that you invested so much time and energy, and that you're saying like, well, I don't want it to end, but it does end, uh, for whatever reason. And people can actually enter legit depressions. So it's
hmm.
the journey, right? That we're almost addicted to.
Um,
But handing in that thesis was the best thing ever because that realized like, boom, all right, so I got to figure out what I want because life just slapped me in the face. Nothing is handed to me, even though I think I deserved it. I'm a nice guy. I'm a smart guy. Why isn't like the world coming wanting me?
hmm.
So that was a big blow to the ego, but it was absolutely required. It's my very first scar on the battlefield to life.
So I think there's three big takeaways here. So one is to really start interacting more in day-to-day life. So just getting comfortable talking to people, starting small. I love your tip, Pat, about just to use what you already have in front of you. You don't have to try. I always say this, guys, you don't have to try so hard. Use the opportunities that present themselves all the time and just get that, start to exercise that muscle of just getting
Yeah,
comfortable talking with people. I think that is a huge takeaway.
yeah,
Another one is flipping that rejection mindset, which is like go into it to get rejected, to get these scars, to start to feel comfortable in these types of situations. So I love that one too. And then another big one is to identify your strengths. So this is what we talked about last week, but taking it one step further. What do you have to bring to the table in dating? What are all the great things that you could bring to a relationship? What are all the great things about you? And then how can you really put those things forward? And then you don't have to worry about the rest. With your online dating profiles, when you're chatting with someone, the things that you talk about, don't worry about trying to talk about things that you don't know about, that you're not interested in. That energy is going to come across. So talk about the things that you are good at, that you are interested in, that will make for an enjoyable conversation. Um, and then in terms of figuring out how to use your strengths, my suggestion would be, we spend so much time on, a lot of the time doing things that we shouldn't be doing. Guys, you can take 20 minutes, half an hour, and I would just write. Don't worry about it too much. Just sit down with a pen and paper, and okay, once you've identified these strengths, just brainstorm, throw out some random ideas about how you can use this in dating, how you can use this in a conversation online, how you can use this in real life dating, what kind of activities you should be signing up for, maybe based on your strengths, even online stuff. So really getting on board with the kind of value that you have to offer, and then just brainstorm. The more ideas you write, the deeper you go into um, how you can make these different things work for you. The more you practice writing these ideas down, the better your ideas are going to get, the more creative your ideas are going to get. So keep going down that rabbit hole, is what I would suggest.
so yeah, and I know this is actually can be very, very difficult because a lot of people just don't know where to start. So I just include the link again to these questionnaires in order to uh, figure out. So if you do need help and if you want to, like, again, I'm a step by step kind of guy. Um, yeah, so here it is. It's that authentic happiness. It's from the University of Pennsylvania. It's not a questionnaire from Cosmopolitan. It's research based. And here's what my recommendation is that instead of filling it out alone, because there's a lot of questions where you're just not sure if it applies to you, or the question sounds like it would, if you say yes, that's me, it would make you sound like a great person. But if you reflect on it, you say like, you know what, I'm a bit of a dick on this, so I'll say no. I recommend filling it out with someone who knows you, family member, friend, partner, whoever it is, and they'll be like, no.
Questions. You know what a lot of us do is we have this idea. I'm so guilty of this all the time. We have this idea of who we are, and we think, I'm like, yeah, I eat healthy all the time.
Yeah,
I'm like, in reality that may not actually be the case. I want to be super open-minded, but when the opportunity to be really open-minded presents itself, I'm actually quite open-minded. I try to be, or I think I am, but yeah, I think filling out some of this stuff um, is helpful to do it with someone. If we're going to go down this path, another thing that I think could be really important is understanding your love language. So I don't know if any of you have, I'm sure many of you know about it, but if you haven't identified what your love language is, there's a primary and secondary love language. That could be really helpful. There's a free quiz online for that as well. So I don't have the link, but if you just Google love language quiz. You'll find that. And the other one is 16personalities.com. Which is another way to find out, about your strengths, weaknesses,
Okay.
generally more about your personality. And yeah, it's this is kind of where it starts, right? Figuring out who we are, what we're all about, and not necessarily who we think we are. And this could be a great way to um, learn a bit more about yourself without having to just figure it out, which could take so long, and which is probably why we're ending up not where we want to be so much, is because we're not using the right tools to identify these patterns and behaviors.
Awesome. I
So
like Stephen asked another question. He goes, after step 4, planting the seed, what is step number 5? Can I
yeah,
answer that one?
please.
Well, you have two scenarios. One, you're gonna see the person again, which is going to be super easy. And number two, you're not going to see the other person again, which is the next level. That's actually not step number 5, but step number 4 is plant the seed and grow that seed. The next time you see them, the next salsa class or whatever cooking class, um, expand on the conversation, expand on talking to them. With time, she's going to think like, oh, this guy is just a sleaze, he's after me just to sleep with me. He's going to be like, no, he's just a friendly guy. Huh. And then she's going to grow with you. And from my personal experience, it's really important to not stick in that friend zone. So I don't know, I don't set, like, you have to feel it, but I would say after a couple of times, maybe 3-4 times of talking and expanding the discussion, yeah, what's that called when you switch over from like actually asking her out for a date? Obviously that's a whole new other thing, right? But step number five, step number 5. But what do you do if you meet someone that you're not going to see again at a coffee shop, on the sidewalk, or anything like that? That takes some skills. Um, First, you got to come across. You can't plant a seed because you're not going to see them again. So you have two choices: indirect approach and direct approach. An indirect approach is like, hey, can I ask you the time, whatever? Just use an excuse to ask the time. And I used that for the longest time, but eventually I preferred the direct approach when at one point my self-confidence was pretty good and I was no longer afraid of rejection. These people don't know me. They think I might be slimy. Doesn't matter. And Stephen, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because even if you say like, what pickup line should I use? Heck, just say hi. And even if you use the most cheesiest pickup line, it's how you say it. Because let's say like, oh, heaven must be missing an angel or something crazy, but you do it like, hey, you just come off creepy. They'll be like, ew. But doesn't matter how you look or anything like that. But if you just come up with like, I'm just having fun here. I'm just talking. I don't care about the outcome. That is really, really important. I don't care about the outcome. And you say like, hey, heaven must be missing an angel. You look really good. And like, it's fun. I just thought I'd let you know and take it from there. If she's just warming up, she's like, thank you, like this, like, no, seriously, I really like the way you said, like, yeah, thank you. You're really pretty. I was wondering, and then you just lead from there. Like that for me is a lot more direct, and she knows your intention right from the get-go. And you don't know her situation. She could be in a relationship. She could be not interested, not looking, working on herself, not interested, and that's it. Don't take her personally. Don't take it. Don't insult her, saying like, "Hey, I'm just trying to be nice." No, that's the worst thing. I've seen it. I've actually seen it, and I'm thinking, "Oh, what a dick." And she's thinking the same thing. What a dick. And she'll remember you. And she's going to talk. And when she sees you again, and she's going to tell her friends about it, like, oh, that's the dick.
Yeah,
You got
that's
to be careful because your reputation, again, is like, your reputation is huge. If I may say, talk to Stephen again, face to face, what you do will go around. And that was one of the best pieces of advice when I was the new fish in the pond. When I was in university, I was just very studious. I rarely went out. I was just, again, dating girls that had approached me. But when, I was working on myself and going out, someone pulled me inside and they said, like, I haven't seen you around here before. And I'm thinking like, no. And I'm dancing. I go, no, like I'm just going out like this. And she says, like, word of advice. She said me two very, very important things. She says, quality over quantity, which means don't approach everyone. Focus on one person and that one person for that night. And if they don't like you, make the whole night about being with your gang, with your guys. Don't make it like, I'm gonna get laid tonight. No, 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 no. So that number one, quality. Don't go around. It's not a numbers game unless that's your thing. But that reputation, then they'll know that you're that numbers guy. And second, if you are going to have sex, make sure that it's the best sex she's ever had.
This is nice because most of you guys know, like, I never talk about sex on these. It's more of like everything, like how to even like kind of get there. And it's about, being in a relationship, which is for what I think is for the most part, everybody's goal here. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
These things get around. I mean, we're in Montreal. I don't know where everybody is from. I'm from Montreal. This is a small village. People talk. And if you're dating some
different city, like Toronto, Ottawa,
it doesn't matter where you're from. It's just like there's certain degrees of separation. And if you start dating someone new and then it starts getting out, like in my case, one of her friends will say like, oh, you're dating Pat Owen? I heard that he's like that, and that's a personal thing. Like,
Ottawa. Ottawa's like so small.
Like, I mean, when I started first dating, started dating my wife, Cindy, yeah, it got back to me after a couple of days. She says, my friend says that you're a player wannabe. And I was like, what? Wannabe? Wannabe was the key word. This is why she decided, well, I think I'm going to be trying out this guy, because I was trying to be a player, but I wasn't good at it because it wasn't my persona. Anyway, so I'm just like, what my takeaway is just be a really good guy, respectful, and the word will spread. And then eventually, it's like, you know what, this guy, Steven, he's he's interested in me, asked me on a date, and a friend would be like, you know what, a friend of mine went on a date with him. It didn't work out, but he really was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff you want to be told about you.
Even if it's not, being spread around, like create a reputation for yourself, have that pattern that really works for you, that that you're like approaching things in the way that you should be approaching them. I'm thinking about doing a live on just like how to be a good single, and setting up yourself with just this like set of rules and a protocol that you follow regardless of if people ghost you, if people break up with you. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, these set of rules that you stick by so that you know that you're always putting your best foot forward. So I might do that. I might do that live. So I think, unless you have any questions. Yes, Stephen. Okay, fine. That's good. Even if I get one yes to that live, I'll do that. But yeah, I think it is really just, to your point about reputation. Even if you're in a really big city, whatever it is, you should be respectful as a woman. Same thing. Like, it all still applies. Like, some of the things on the list would be never ghosting someone, always closing the loop on a conversation.
Yeah.
And these are things I apply even in business. Like, if I'll reach out to someone, and if they don't, if somebody just like leaves me hanging, I'll even go back and be like, you know what? I guess this wasn't the right partnership or collaboration. I wish you all the best. If you ever change your mind, like, you could reach out. So even if I've been ghosted after a conversation going back and forth, for my own peace of mind, I will close the loop on these conversations. So yeah, so I might do this how to be a good single live. So thank you so much, Pat. I think we're good. I'll read through these. I may just respond to some people after, but yeah, so hopefully this was helpful. Pat, this was really great. I really did want that. I don't mean to make it sound this way, but I really just did want like a male voice, and I wanted to, because I'm sharing a lot personally with my clients, I wanted to be able to show something from the man's perspective and how things look from that side. And unless there's any other questions, we will thank you guys. And yeah, unless there's any other questions, we will hop off. We've spent so much time. Thank you, Pat, for taking all of this extra time. And thank you guys again for your patience with all of my technical difficulties. But it looks like we got everybody back on board. And Stephen is asking for a part 2 next month, which is cool. So Pat, maybe you and I can talk about, maybe we could talk about some sort of plan of action or strategy that we could come on and really like give people a specific guide based on a specific topic, like how to meet someone offline, which is really nice because I do talk a lot about online stuff and you are talking a lot about the offline stuff. So maybe something
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah, I met my wife right before Tinder started. So like,
Online blow up.
I'm an offline kind of guy. And I think we need more of it. Honestly, I think we need more of
100%.
it.
And that's the thing. It's just gonna talk. It's just gonna it's for us to it's for us to set an example. So if we want more in-person interactions, if we want to meet people organically, then start doing it, start trying it. And yeah, people will ignore you or look at their phone or think you're weird, and that sucks, but that's what we should be trying to change today, is bring the human element back to the dating scene. Guys, let's do this together, and let's not worry about how people react or what the outcome is. Just know that you are doing the right things for society today. And like Pat said, don't be creepy about it. Don't be annoying about it. Don't be pushy about it. Be just like nice, kind, patient, and don't expect anything just because you're doing the right thing and putting your best foot forward. You don't need to expect others to follow suit. You are setting an example.
Well said.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you again. Thank you guys so much. And you know what? Next time I might just hop straight on Zoom if I'm going to do this.
Yeah, maybe. If anybody wants to ask any more questions, please, I invite you to add me on Facebook or Instagram.
Oh my God, yes, thank you for saying that. Pat, where can people find you? Now you might just get inundated with dating questions, but
that's fine, only because it's self-improvement is applicable to anything in life. And obviously I deal with a science-based approach to nutrition and health. But when it comes to self-growth, it's completely the same tools. So I'm just typing in my website here, drpatrickowen.com, and you can find me on Instagram under Dr. Oh, here. I'm going to put a Dr. Pat Owen. That's on my Instagram. I'm also on Facebook and everything. So please, I'm really open to helping everybody. It's very, very empowering and enlightening. I love it.
It's fulfilling. It's a nice feeling, and and obviously, having Pat here, I can vouch. It's always very like easy to talk to you. You have such a real approach to things, and it's just nice to get that like realness. That raw, real advice. You don't like to sugarcoat stuff, and it's just about getting the results that we really want and finding the best way to do it. So that's so nice that you guys can reach out to Pat. Thank you for that, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. I don't know how the weather is. I don't even know how the weather is here, actually.
Gorgeous. Go outside, everybody. Get some vitamin D.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kavita.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in.